We're all about results, measurable results, permanent results. Results matter. I went to engineering school to be properly trained how to look at complex problems and create simple solutions that work and get results. Because when you design things, you build a prototype and then you test. And you get data. And then you're fine until the thing works. So the good news was I knew how to make machines work, but they didn't teach me how to make life work. So I knew how to make a robot that could play ping pong, but I was an insecure, anxious, people-pleasing procrastinator with low self-esteem. So there's that.
Thank you for joining us today. I have an esteemed guest with me. Daniel Packard has agreed to come on and share his wisdom with you, with everyone, with the spirit that surrounds this whole incredible universe. And I'm grateful. I became aware of his work and felt like you guys need to know about it. So here he is. I always feel like the guest does a better introduction than I could ever do because you've lived with you that long. So could you take it from here, Daniel, and just let people know why you're here, what you got, what were we talking about?
Well, I like that I can do my own intro. In that case, I was a professional male model / basketball player and astronaut. And that was just in my 20s. But, it just wasn't fulfilling. So then I became a daycare dog walker. Oh, wait, that's not me. So, well, first of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate the people that you have on your show. I know we're going to have a great conversation. Before we hit record, we were kind of like getting our juju on, and I could tell our vibes were vibing. So to your listeners, you're going to get a good episode because Vicky and I are going to be vibing. And that always makes a great episode. But also, I know the value that I'm about to share with your audience. And A, they haven't heard this before. And B, it's going to help them get what they want. I always like to be really clear about the value of what we do because it's innovative. And if I'm not clear, sometimes people miss it. So I like to be clear what this is all about, but also your audience's time is valuable. Also, I don't think you're cheating on me, but I know you're listening to other podcasts. I know this is not the only one. So I want to earn your time. So this is Intuition, your success podcast. And intuition is wonderful. And if your audience is listening to this podcast, it means they know the value of their intuition, connecting to their heart, which is beautiful and wonderful. And it means your audience is aware and they're paying attention to the important things in life that lead us to happiness. However, knowing about the power of intuition and always being able to tap into your intuition consistently and consistently follow your intuition, that is not always as simple. It's fun to read a book called The Power of Intuition. That's the fun part. Actually listening to it and following it when it's hard, that is not so easy. So what I'm going to be sharing with your audience is some insights, not to know the value of intuition, but so that you can truly be connected to it all day long. And most importantly, follow it consistently, not because you meditated and not because you calmed yourself down and not because when you went for a 10-day retreat. I mean, it is your default. That's how I live every day, is in my heart, just letting my heart lead all day long. And it is it is incredible. So yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Oh, and who am I? So the reason I'm able to help people with intuition is because I started a company called Full Liberation Technology. And what we do that's very special and rare is we found a way to help people be free of what's holding them back quickly and permanently in a matter of weeks. So this isn't about learning about what's holding you back, understanding it, managing it, getting tips and tools. No. Your audience has tons of understanding, tons of insights, tons of tips and tools. You guys are tipped and tooled out. That is absolutely fine if you want to manage things. What I want to share with you is what our company does, which is an understanding how to be free of what holds you back quickly and permanently and measurably, because our passion is results. We're all about results, measurable results, permanent results. And the reason is because when I was growing up, my dad is a physicist and he sat me down and he said to me, Daniel, anybody can have a theory or an idea, but it's the person that gets results that knows what they're talking about. Results matter. And that idea that results matter, it stuck with me. And so partly that I loved results, but also I liked inventing. I went to engineering school to be properly trained how to look at complex problems and create simple solutions that work and get results. Because when you design things, you build a prototype and then you test and you get data. And then you're fine until the thing works. So the good news was I knew how to make machines work, but they didn't teach me how to make life work. So I knew how to make a robot that could play ping pong, but I was an insecure, anxious, people-pleasing procrastinator with low self-esteem. So there's that. And so playing ping pong with a robot just isn't that fulfilling with that. So like your audience, I saw these limitations and I go looking for help. And I went to therapists and psychologists, spiritual teachers, retreats, books, videos. I did everything. So, pretty much. And what was the result? The result was I had tips and tools and insights that managed it. It was better. The anxiety was better. The procrastination was better. The people-pleasing, the perfectionism, the low self-esteem, all better, but not gone. And not only was I just not living the life I wanted, because I could feel it. It just was holding me back. But I didn't like who I saw in the mirror. But also when you try for so long you go to the experts for help and they can't solve it, I started to blame myself. Like, I guess I'm broken. There's something wrong with me. And so I felt alone. I felt broken. I felt like there's something wrong with me. And I was also pissed off. I spent $100,000 and I'm still stuck with this stuff. And so in one particularly sad, broken, pissed off moment, I looked up at the sky, whoever's up there pulling the strings. And I was just like, what do you want from me? Like, what? This is obviously a test, but I've been at this 10 years. What's missing? What am I missing? And I was being rhetorical. I was just being mad. And I didn't think I'd get an answer, but I got an answer, which is I remember what my dad said, which was results matter. And I just looked at all these things I tried, all these experts and teachers and therapists. And I said, I'm sure these people meant well, but this just isn't good results. 10 years, $100,000, and I still have it. Bad results. So out of desperation for myself, but also just the whole world that is just not living the life they want to live because they're always managing this stuff, I said, maybe I could use my engineering training. So I started my own research company to see, is it possible? We didn't know if we could pull it off. Is it possible to reverse engineer a process such that if you worked the steps, you would get a consistent result and data that what you're struggling with was gone and not coming back, and have it be fast, simple, reliable, and affordable. We didn't know if it was possible. So it sounded good, right? Oh, we're going to figure out this thing so people can be free if it holds them back. It sounded great. Super hard. Way harder than we thought. But the nice thing about engineers is we are relentless, focused problem solvers. And we don't give up because that's the thrill, is solving the problem. So I worked with addicts in South Africa. I worked with monks in India. I worked with NFL athletes in the US. I worked with entrepreneurs in Europe. I worked in Latin America. We worked with 3,000 people, over $1 million in research and development, a total of 8 years. But we cracked the code. We finally cracked it. And now we have a program that, regardless of what you're struggling with, is gone in 6 weeks measurably, because results matter to us. And we've been testing the program. And because results matter to us so much, and because I didn't like that I spent all this money and didn't get much for it, when we work with people, we don't take your money up front because we haven't helped you yet, not by our standards. You only pay at the end once you have clear, measurable data that what you're struggling with is gone and not coming back. And we do that for 2 reasons. One is nobody believes that we can do this, because it's just not the way things are. Everyone works on their stuff their whole life. 6 weeks? Come on, Daniel. Nobody believes it. So by allowing you to pay at the end, it lowers the risks so skeptical people can get help. But also, results matter, Vicky. And the result people want is freedom from this stuff. Not another book, not another retreat, not another video, not another mantra. I want to just be happy. So that's our measurement of success. So if we can't get you that, which we can because we have a 90% success rate, but if we can't, we don't take your money because it's not right. Other people will. It's $1 trillion a year industry, therapy and psychology, personal development. I call it the improvement industrial complex. A lot of people will take your money
Mhm.
and not really help you, but we won't because it's not right.
Mhm. And that was one of the premises that when I heard that somewhere else and on another podcast, truthfully, because I do my research, and I heard that, and that aligns a lot with what I do. I do take your money up front, but I will not work with someone if they're not seeing measurable results. Like, I won't keep it going because it matters to me that you're okay. It matters to me that there's investment, but also an understanding, not of what the issue is, but of how you want to be, of how you want to feel. So it fascinated me that you have this 6 week, like, you put a number on it, my friend. Like, you put I understand the research is there to back it up, which I love too, because if you're gonna be a really good intuitive, you have to love science, I think, because there's a combination. It can't just be energy, woo-woo, kind of stuff. So
Ooh, let me just interrupt and appreciate what you just said, because that was a Jedi level insight that not a lot of people have. Because yeah, intuition can often be woo-woo-fied, and it's just this like floaty lava lamping thing that sounds good to say. But for you to say real intuition would also have science, yummy, yummy. I dig you. Gold stars to you. Keep going.
thank you. Well, we are a soul in a human experience, right? So there's our I feel like when the honoring is there of all systems, that's when we stop focusing on what's wrong and we start putting our energy and our attention towards, well, how do I want to feel? My soul is joyful. My soul is a big dingling, so, and I want to feel that as a human. So but it takes work. And I loved your word earlier, consistently, because I have witnessed that where there are, and I'm gonna go draw this to your program. There are a lot of I call them drive-through methods, where you place your order at the window, and these are the weekend retreats or something like that. And you get up to the window, you place your order at the speaker, you get up to the window, and you're like, "Well, I should have it my way." And I'm like, "Well, you didn't do any of the work." Like, you have to actually show up consistently for not only for the body to get it, but I do believe the brain to get it because it's part of your body, but acknowledging that you are walking around with this thing that has so much intelligence to it. So how did you land on 6 weeks? Can we go there?
Well, through the testing. I mean, when we were first building the model, we had the theory, then we started developing the tools necessary. One of the reasons that there's two key reasons what we do. Well, first let me explain what we do, and then I'll explain sort of how
Okay.
we got there. What we do and the value that it has to your audience is this. So we help people with what I call the Funky Five. And it's not a band from the 70s, although an excellent guess. The Funky Five is anxiety, procrastination, people-pleasing, perfectionism, and low self-confidence. Most people fall into one or a few of those. I'm not naming names,
I'm not raising my hand.
but I've heard a friend of yours, if you're listening to this, might struggle with one of those. And so we thought, if we want to help people at scale, let's look at what people are really struggling with and what's really keeping people from the joy and being the person they want to be. It was the Funky Five. And so here's how we're able to solve the Funky Five, is because we saw that when you have one of the Funky Five, we're taught and trained that you have individual problems.
Mm.
Oh, I'm a procrastinator. I'm such a procrastinator. Oh, I'm a recovering perfectionist. As if you caught it.
Yeah.
Unlike what? Did you go to is this where the bats and COVID were? What do you mean you're a recovering perfectionist? So we're trained, they label a behavior, and then people think they have these problems, and then they go to the books and the retreats and the videos and the mantras to work on these problems.
Mhm.
Okay, great. One problem. They're not individual problems. The research and the data show they're actually individual symptoms of one thing, which is fear. So you could say you have anxiety or you're an anxious person, or you could say you just have a lot of fear and you call that fear anxiety. You could say you're a perfectionist, or you could say you have a fear of making a mistake. You could say you're a procrastinator, or you could say you have a fear of starting or finishing things. You could say you're a people pleaser, or you could have a fear that people don't like you, so you're trying to make them happy so they like you to avoid the fear. And you could say you have low self-esteem or low self-confidence, or you could say you're afraid to be your true self.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you want to give these behaviors names, put up names. But can you see that mechanically, those are just symptoms and coping mechanisms of fear?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I often say that my role here on this earth is to introduce people to their own brilliance because I see it. But that fear that you're talking about, and I think it's often a fear of being brilliant and a fear of showing and fully embodying, right? Like that self surety, not even confidence, like that self surety. So so it sounds very much like you in cracking the code, it's the whole person approach. And correct me if I'm way off somewhere, but identifying, but not necessarily labeling or sitting in or the expression I need to own it. If one more person tells me I need to own my imperfections, I'm never you're right. Is there a deed? Like, are we gonna have a closing on this or?
What about own it, girlfriend? Is that
Oh,
even more annoying?
more. It's more annoying.
I get a little jealous, even though those phrases annoy me. It does. I'm slightly jealous that generally North American female culture is like, I'm a guy. I never had a guy walk to me and be like, own it,
Own it,
boyfriend.
dude.
I mean, I would have liked to have said that phrase isn't really helpful, but at least I'm glad you said it to me. And also, again, huge generalization, but like, I would notice that some women, when they would compliment their female friends, there was never like, you look okay. It was either hot or gorgeous. Like, the engineer in me is like, statistically, you can't always be gorgeous. But like, I would love as a guy for me to walk into a room and my male friend be like, you look gorgeous. The best I got was, you don't look like dog shit. So anyway, I'm a little bit jealous. Anyway, we're off track. So keep going.
So this to bring it back or to bring it forward. Let's not go back. We'll go forward. With how do you help people release then that fear or know about that the fear is the common denominator, I guess. And then how do you direct them to that? Like, yeah, I'm not saying it clear enough for you, but
Well, let me interrupt because the fact that you're as smart as you are and you know as much as you do about this topic and you're unclear is part of the problem we're trying to solve. People don't know what is people know fear is an issue, but you were like, you let it go. Do you like, you don't know. And that's part of why everyone's confused and stuck, because even the smart people we've been led to, because there's so many theories and ideas about things, but because nobody's collecting and measuring data, nobody knows what's true and what isn't true. And that's part of the problem. But that's not the problem. The problem is we don't see it as a problem. When we finally cracked this and saw how simple it was, and I'm going to explain to your audience how simple it is, and we looked back, and I looked back at all the money I spent and the books I read, I was like, that was so unnecessarily confusing. Why? Because these people, while well-intentioned, did not know what they were talking about. They knew how to describe and explain things, but the actual mechanics and how to solve it, they didn't understand, which is they were confused, and that confusion got spread onto us. Even if you ask people like, so do you get rid of the fear? Do you face the fear? Do you overcome the fear? Do you sit in the ice bucket? Like, fear, the number one thing keeping people from what they want, including their intuition. And you ask people, what is it and how do you get rid of it? People are like, I don't know. Can you?
mhm.
And so this is why people are stuck with fear, because the experts don't understand it mechanically, and so they couldn't help you solve it. They could only help you manage the symptoms. So I'm telling your audience this because fear is at the root of it, but you were never taught how to address the fear, so it's still there. So you're still doing the symptoms, but then blaming yourself, thinking it's your fault. This is not your fault. There is nothing wrong with you. To use your fancy Latin phrase, ding-a-ling, we all have a ding-a-ling within us, and the fear is keeping us from consistent access, but the experts didn't know how to address the fear quickly, so you were stuck where you're at. But it's not your fault. It's that the experts had an incomplete understanding of where fear comes from and how to solve it quickly. And I can speak from experience because we get results. So I can tell you that. So I interrupted you, but I did want to clarify that. The fact that you don't even know means nobody else knows. And it's this confusion that's keeping people stuck. So I want to bring some real clarity to where the fear is coming from and how to solve it quickly. A, just because I like sharing this insightful information. Yeah. B, it'll give your audience hope. Because if I'm like, you can get rid of fear in 6 weeks, nobody believes that, but we can. And I'll explain to you why.
I do know I was being the advocate for my listener, but I want you to share with us because they hear from me every week. Or every other week now. Give it to us then, Daniel. Like what do you want to share about this? How do you want to educate us? And can you speak to the idea of when you say permanently? Because I think that there's gold in there. And I'll tell you why I think so after. But roll with it here. Roll with it.
Okay. So first of all, when people think like, wait, get rid of fear, is that even possible? First of all, I'll just say that's how I wake up every morning. Yeah. I don't live an easy life. I'm trying to disrupt the entire mental health industry. Believe me, we get some blowback. I am not treated well. I don't feel fear. I can feel a little bit of stress, maybe 2 out of 10 for about 5 minutes, but fear, gone. Caring what people think of me, gone. Procrastination, gone. Sabotage, gone. Gone. It's my default. That's where I live. I wish to God I could control copy, control paste my soul into your audience so they can believe me, because I get it seems too good to be true, but it's real. And that's how we're able to back up our results, is because we are able to get our clients this. But here's why. Because our approach, we were trying to solve things. The people that are usually trying to help you aren't focused problem solvers. They are learner sharers. Whether it's a therapist, a psychologist, a coach, a teacher, they learn something valuable and they like to share it. And there's value in that. Absolutely wonderful. There's real value in it. If you want to understand things and explore and learn and get tips and make it better, awesome. But the learner sharers, what they're not is problem solvers. Problem solvers and engineers are a different breed. All the technology we have is the effect of engineers and scientists who love results. Your internet working all the time, that ain't a fluke. That's not because someone opened up their third eye chakra. It's because they understand how to solve things.
Well, they
all
might
this
have gotten
innovation.
A vision, though. Like, don't diss that third eye chakra. They might have gotten a vision and then had to go and do the work in order to have it in the physical realm.
I didn't say there wasn't value in the third eye chakra. I'm saying you can't just open your third eye and that leads to a solution.
No, yeah, you're absolutely correct. Yeah.
Right. Problem solving is a skill set and it's a mindset, and not everybody does it. So the engineers of the world who are problem solvers, which is what we need, better results, and the innovators, they're focused on the outside world. How do we know? Look at all the innovation. Then you got your feeler, teacher, sharers. They're on the inside, but they're not problem solvers. I don't know why I got tapped by the big guy, but I am this unique diagram of a trained Jedi-level problem solver who, instead of focusing on the outside and creating a more efficient car, decided to make people happier. It's a little Venn diagram of learner sharers on the inside and problem solvers, and there's a little overlap, and that little sliver overlap is me. It's the Danimal. That's how we were able to solve this, because we put problem solvers on the inside instead of the outside. Yep. And we were problem solving using what works, which is to approach things mechanically. Most people learn things that are spiritual or psychological, and spiritual and psychological are wonderful for understanding and having insights and paradigms to understand things. They're wonderful. It's a flashlight. But again, it usually has a limitation that you can't quickly solve something and innovate. Right. So our approach is spiritual, it's mechanical. And if you're struggling and you want a fast, consistent solution, you want mechanical. If you're at a restaurant and you start choking and one person walks up to you and goes, "Hey, I see you're really struggling. I think you have a real scarcity mindset around air. And I think you're really focusing on your lack of air." instead of the abundance of the air that's out there. And also, I think your ego is like really attached to breathing. And that's just your story. And if you could like let go, if you could own it, if you could own your greatness, girlfriend, this would all be fine. Or somebody walks up and goes, this is like a mechanical issue. You have a piece of Chipotle in your windpipe, and I'm going to add mechanical pressure to your stomach, which will put air behind the guacamole and pop it out, and air will mechanically get in, and you will be breathing in about 10 seconds from now. What do you want? Spiritual, psychological, or mechanical?
Well, I'm going with mechanical, and because first of all, that's the right answer. But
why, if you want to solve something fast, why do you want mechanical?
Well, because you want the physical, like you want to move the problem through, like you don't want to regurgitate and continue to suffer, actually. And you want result. You want the air to move in that situation.
Yeah, you want the air to move. And the reason mechanical works is mechanical is code for this is connected to this. Not an idea, not a theory, not a perspective. It's like this is connected to this. Or this is malfunctioning because this is off. That's a mechanical understanding. When you take if you break your leg, that's a mechanical issue. Your bone should be one piece, but it's two pieces. A mechanical issue. That's not a mindset issue. It's a mechanical issue. Then you go to the doctor doesn't say, hey, let's vision board. No, they put a cast on your leg. There's a mechanical mechanism which takes your leg from two pieces, which is not good, to one piece, which is good. And then you're up and running. Fast, reliable. Nobody goes to the doctor, and when the doctor says, hey, we're going to put a cast, no one says, will it work for me? I had a really messed up childhood. No one says, is this going to take years? No, mechanical. 6 to 8 weeks, you're up and running. So our approach, if it was to see, could we find a mechanical approach? And the answer is yes. Do you want to know what we discovered mechanically?
I do.
Okay.
So does that.
All right. So mechanically, we are told by the experts, usually, that fear, which again is at the root of the Funky Five, that fear is a problem of the mind. You'll hear quiet your negative thinking, stop your scarcity mindset, quiet the ego in your mind. You're telling yourself a story. It's called mental health. It's got the word mental right in there. So most people are trying to tackle their fear through their mind. Now, it looks like the mind could be the cause because you feel kind of crappy and your mind says negative, scary things. It looks like the mind could be the culprit, the root cause. There's just one tiny issue. It doesn't get results. They've been trying this mind approach for over 100 years. Modern psychology started by Freud. He was a chain-smoking cocaine addict. Like, that's not a great sign. So it looks like the mind is the root cause, except that doesn't get anybody free of it because fear is not coming from the mind.
Right.
The mind is a symptom of where fear originates, which is the body. That's where it starts. That's the root cause. And people say, but Daniel, isn't it that the mind says scary things and it spreads to the body? No, that's how it seems. And if you don't spend your life focusing on this, that's how it seems. You have these scary thoughts. You feel like crap. But look at your mechanics. We are mechanically wired where your body tells you what your body needs. Your mind is a tool to then get your body what it needs. You feel hunger in the body first, then your mind senses the hunger and goes, oh, maybe we should go find food. If you're thirsty, same thing. If you have to go to the bathroom, body first. If you're in the jungle and you hear a sound, your body will go, oh, fear. And then your mind goes, okay, let's try to get the hell out of here. So your mind is mechanically wired to follow your body. So for reasons which I'll explain, we feel fear originating from the body first, and then it spreads to the mind, and the mind gets you stuck in a loop. But if you want to solve fear and fear-related symptoms, you go to the body. The problem is everybody's sent to the mind. So the reason we haven't solved this is because the experts sent you to the literal wrong place. That's why your mind won't shut up. That's why the fear won't go away, because you were sent to the wrong location. But we saw fear originates in the body. And once we saw that and developed tools just for the body, not only did the body calm down, but the mind calmed down. My body is very calm and my mind is just quiet.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, it says nice things. My mind used to beat the living crap out of me and called me unlovably ugly. It was like the judges from the Muppets. It was hell in there. And now it's like a little beautiful meadow. If anything, it says nice things. And I don't do a single mind shift. I do nothing to get my mind at that place. I calmed the body and the mind followed.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's, like I said to you before, there were a lot of aligned beliefs that I have, that I tell people all the time, the mind is just a yes machine. It's going to say yes to whatever you're putting in there. Like if you have tension here, it's going to say, oh my goodness, we need to be afraid of something. But rarely is there a saber-tooth tiger chasing you anymore. So, but dropping into your body and being comfortable to be embodied, but also listening to the body and having the feedback loop go around. You have to be willing. That's why the consistency word I loved, because you have to be willing to meet with yourself, I think, to understand how is it your body and what is your body telling you? And are you using all of the systems, the physical, the nervous system, the intuition? Like there's a lot of information we get, but this gets in the way of the mind. Sorry, you guys are listening on someone. They're not all visual.
For those of you in audio land, Vicky just touched her head.
On the
and
right
speaking of
side,
the mind.
but it's going to look like the left side because it does a mirroring image.
So what you said is absolutely true and wise. Again, a lot of these things like follow your intuition, trust your gut. Sounds great. Good luck with that because we have been disconnected from our body for so long. Most people at best can do it inconsistently. Or they have to meditate to really sit there and connect, which is way better than nothing. It's managing a symptom. But then because we reflexively are uncomfortable being in the body, or the body in your intuition tells you things that are scary, you'll be like, you know what? I don't want to listen to my body anymore. I'm going to go to my mind. My mind is going to talk me out of this. So the key is consistency. And the reason our program is effective is for two reasons. The theory of how we address fear, but also it's the system we developed. And the reason the system works is for a couple reasons. One is you have all the tools needed in one place that have been optimized to work together to get the job done. And this is important because usually when people go looking for help, they get one tool from this person, another tool from this person, and they try the one tool and then they fail, or doesn't like what they want, then they give up, or then they go, and they're spending their life collecting these individual tools. Now, it's not bad, but it's not efficient. If you hired a contractor and your contractor who was going to rebuild your house said, I've got a hammer, I got one tool, it's an amazing tool, I got a hammer. Are you going to be slightly worried that they don't have more tools? Yes, because every job needs an optimized toolkit to get the job done. And your average person go looking for help has individual tools. That's fine for management and understanding, but not a fast solution. So we built a toolkit, all the tools in one place. But then the second thing that you need for success in a system is instructions. Because what happened when I went looking for help is a therapist, a psychologist, a teacher would hand me something, which was helpful. And it was just like, there you go. Yeah. Good luck. I would try, I would fail, feel bad about myself, bad results. So part of why we get this 90% success rate, part of why we can back up our results is you get the toolkit, but you get very simple, easy to follow instructions. Do this on this day for this long. Tomorrow, do this, then do this. Right. And it's all very simple and easy to follow. So when you have the full toolkit and the instructions, it sets you up for success. But going back to what you said, if you just tell a person, follow your intuition, that's the what. What would be better? But to get to that place, like I live in my intuition 99.9% of the time now. Mm-hmm. But your average person, to get there, it's scary and terrifying. So part of our system is there's 4 modules. The first module is very gentle. You're in your body, you're feeling your feelings. It's very gentle because we don't want to blow you out. If you send someone to a gym and you say lift 1,000 pounds, they're going to try and fail and leave. So we've laid out the system to start simple, allow you to connect to your body in a way that's doable and simple. And then we increase the intensity as you go up for the very reason that you just said, which is that it's being connected is where it's at, but that's scary. So we lower the fear to make it easy and simple so that anybody can do it.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's love, right? Like to me, that's the epitome of caring for your human being and that your fellow human beings, that we want them to succeed so much. Like we just want people to succeed and to feel good about who they are and how they are and all of their beautiful ooey gooey parts. So that, because I really know that creates a ripple effect, right? So the more that each of us has a sense of self-surety with kindness, we're going to ripple that out. Like we're going to help others, and then you become the example. Have you seen that in the people that have done your program? Like, have you seen a contagion, if you will, of like a business owner, for instance, going through the program and how it affects the business? Or have you seen, I'm just curious if there's some further evidence of this. Yes, we talk about the individual, but is there a ripple effect that you're seeing?
I mean, the short answer is I see it every day, and it is it's what keeps me going every day. Every day, I can track the data of our clients, both quantitatively, because we have biomarkers that we track on the Funky Five, but also people just will say, like, here's what I did today, or here's what was new today. So just this morning, there was a gentleman, Mike, from Australia, wonderful guy, but low self-confidence, perfectionism, self-loathing. And he had so much potential. He had done so much work, but he's like, man, this stuff is sticking around. And he's like, I met somebody at a party. They said, you don't charge till the end. Like, what? So I can just try it? I said, you can. Okay. And to see it, so because what we're doing is so deep and truly healing you at the core level, it spreads out. So people usually pick one of the Funky Five to focus on. Could be procrastination, people pleasing, low self-esteem, anxiety. They pick one because we have you focus and because we want to collect clean data. We don't want a lot of noise.
Right.
So he went through it for low self-confidence, but because the program is based in kindness and love, he's finally giving himself the love that he had always wanted. He just didn't know how. And then he said, from that place of love, he's so much kinder to himself, but now he's so much more kinder to his kids, to his wife, but also the burden. When you beat the crap out of yourself, now you feel like you need to be perfect to prove you're not broken. And he just felt so healed. He said, there's just so much weight lifted off of my shoulders. He said, forget the fact that my sales have improved. Forget the fact that my procrastination is almost gone. Forget the fact that I'm much calmer. He said, I actually feel like the person I was destined to be all along. And I'm going to be the husband I've always wanted to be and the father I want to be. Does that answer your question, Vicki?
Well, obviously, yes, it does. Because I don't know, that's just, it's my empathic dream that I don't want to feel everybody's stuff, but I want everybody to feel brilliant within themselves and get the programs, get the help that gets them there. I feel grateful. I feel gratitude for all the work that you guys put into it to be able to speak of it and to take some flack from those that probably are afraid to admit that they could have gone looking for it too, but maybe they didn't have the skill set. So
we get flack. We mostly don't get flack. Well, we do. I've gotten, man, I spoke at a conference last year and I said, hey, I'm an engineer. We spent 8 years and $1 million and we're getting permanent results and we back up our results. We're getting people real freedom. And this person walks up. Instead of being curious, most therapists are aware that they're not solving things. That's fine. If all you can do, it's fine. If that's what you know, do your best. And not only was she not curious, which she should have been, if you really want to help people, you don't have to fully believe me, but be curious. She said, what are your credentials? where were you properly trained? Not with kindness, almost like, what are you doing on our turf? Now, I didn't say anything because I get it, because what I'm claiming is completely confronting to what you're not doing. And of course, you don't want to see that. You want to see that you're helping everybody. And I'm showing you you're helping people manage things and understanding things, but it's taking years and it's not solving anything. Secondly, the reason that the therapeutic industry, I call it Big Thera, isn't solving anything is because they all go to the same schools. They get the same old regurgitated information. They share it and they get paid for it. Fine, but they're not innovating. And they're all part of this club where they're all sort of rehashing the same stuff. So I didn't say this, but I was like, so let me get this straight. You've got the letters at the end of your name. You're properly trained. But I didn't say this. But what I want to say is, do you back up your results? Do you take results? When you don't solve, do you take people's money? You don't? Oh, really? Well, I'm glad that you have letters at the end of your name. You know, we have results. And when people are in pain, I think they'd much rather have freedom than a certificate.
Yeah.
Boom. Mic drop. Now, to help you understand how we are able to solve fear quickly, you have to understand, again, where fear is coming from that makes it solvable simply. Otherwise, it still seems too good to be true. And I'm going to share where fear is coming from. And just so people know what I'm saying has some validity, I sent a 90-minute training to you, Vicki, and you listened to it. It's not the whole program, but it's sort of a proof of concept window into what we do. So after I share what I do, I just want you to share your side of things to say, like, yeah, what Daniel's saying is, you know, my experience backs that up. So here's what we saw. Fear is coming from the body. So then the question is, where in the body? And the answer is very simple. It's so simple, you're going to be irritated that an expert didn't tell you this. It's coming from the nervous system, which kind of makes sense because it's got the word nervous right in there. There's a system in the body with the word nervous. You got billions of people scared, and there's a system in the body that has the word nervous, and the experts were like, you know what? It's a problem of the mind. It's got nervous right there. Look there first. That's where we win. First place. And nervous system. System, which means we know systems can malfunction and systems can be repaired. If you think it's a problem of the mind, we don't understand the mind. It's abstract. There's neurons and synaptic pathways, but the body is mechanical and systems. So they didn't go there. Why? I don't know. You got to ask them. We went straight to the nervous system. And what we saw was, as we know, the nervous system is your body's mechanical threat response system. If your nervous system is out of balance or wonky, to use the Latin phrase, you will feel a feeling which is called unsafe. If you feel unsafe, you then feel fear. Then you feel fear, and then the symptoms of fear, the funky five, will show up. So we saw that people aren't perfectionists, they're not procrastinators, they're not anxious. Their nervous system is malfunctioning, making them feel very unsafe, which creates fear, which then creates all these symptoms. And the reason that is good news is because the nervous system is a system. And so we studied and we figured out what is making the nervous system malfunction and how can we repair it quickly. So that's our approach. So before I go into more, based on your experience with the 90-minute training, is what I'm saying sort of track and make sense? What do you think?
Yeah, it's completely there. You know your stuff. It aligns. I enjoyed the program very much, or the training, not the program, the training very much. And there was a lot of content in that, is what I just want to say. Like, and as you guys can probably tell, it was entertaining. So, which I know somewhat is a disarming of the nervous system, but I absolutely enjoyed the process of the training. And yeah, I feel like it directly aligned to what you just shared with us. And I did have awarenesses while I was going through it and wrote my little notes down.
Well, that's high praise. You're a very knowledgeable person.
Yes,
and also
always go higher, right? Like,
Yeah, but it's still, we're claiming that what we've come up with is innovative. And I think when someone like you that has been around the block and knows a lot of things walks away from something and says, "Oh, that was new."
Yeah.
It should be new because it's an innovative way we're doing it. But also, what you did was just this 90-minute sort of proof of concept, but it's still in results. In it, we sort of have you bring up a fear or an anxiety, and then we have you apply one of our tools. It's not the whole system, but it's one of the tools. And I think you mentioned that you did feel a little bit different. You felt a bit calmer after applying the technique. Was that
Oh,
true?
absolutely. Yeah, I told you that before we recorded. So I absolutely did because I know our system, our whole system, it likes action. We are physical beings and it likes an action. And I feel like when you can calm the nervous system, you open up all the other systems. So I absolutely did feel after that a calming and awareness, like I said, and awareness. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing. So yeah, you felt a calming, and that's the measurable proof of concept. Now, it was just an exercise, so that's not going to fully heal the nervous system, but it shows the mechanical proof of concept. And what Vicky learned, I'll just share very briefly. The nervous system, here's why your nervous system is malfunctioning. And I'll try to, because this is what everybody wants to know. Like, even for people, because some people know the nervous system is an issue. We didn't come up with that. There's Bessel van der Kolk, body keeps the score, Gabor Mate. People understand the body is an issue. What those people aren't doing is calming it quickly and permanently. That's what we figured out in the system. And here's why. Because we figured out what was making the system malfunction. So to do this, we'll do a little role play where you and I are friends, Vicky. But when I talk to you, I'm talking to your audience, okay?
Okay.
And I'm going to show you the very simple explanation of why we feel unsafe. The simple mechanical explanation of why we feel unsafe, okay? So let's say we're friends, and I'm talking to you, Vicky, in the audience. Okay, if I'm a really good friend to you consistently, I'm there for you, I care about you, you matter to me, I put your needs first, your experience matters, and when you need me, I'm there for you, and I'm kind and considerate. If I treat you well consistently, will you feel safe around me?
Of course.
Right. And the reason it's of course is because that's mechanical. Because when you treat someone well, they trust you. When they trust you, they feel safe. That's mechanical. That's not like an opinion or a theory. You treat someone poorly, they don't trust you, they feel crappy around you. You treat people better, they feel better around you. Okay? Check your relationships if have any doubt. So now let's say, God forbid, I would never do this to you, Vicky, you're my BFF, but let's say, and to your audience, all of a sudden I start treating you crappy, and I'm mean to you, and I'm considerate, and I'm critical, and I know what you need, and it doesn't matter to me. And in fact, I'm focused on everybody else, and I put you dead last. And I know what you need, and I don't do it. In fact, I know it scares you, and I do it anyway. And when you really, really need me, not only am I not there for you, I criticize you. If I treat you that way for a while, will you then feel unsafe?
I'll feel gone, but yes, I would feel unsafe.
Before you left, would you be leaving because you don't feel safe?
Among other things. Yes. Yes, I would.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a mechanical link between care and safety and poor care and unsafety. True?
True. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So in this role play, we're in a friend relationship, but is it fair to say that we are in a relationship with ourselves?
Yes.
And is it fair to say that while maybe you're better and things are improving to you and your audience, is it maybe fair to say that sometimes, or maybe a lot, you're not always the best, most loving friend to yourself?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you didn't have to pause. You were like, absolutely. And everybody knows that. People are like, oh, I'm too hard on myself. I beat myself up. People know they treat themselves poorly, and they know that they're afraid. But if in a friend relationship, I treat you poorly, you feel unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's mechanics. Can you see that if you treat yourself poorly, you will then feel unsafe within yourself based on how you treat yourself?
Yes. Direct correlation.
Direct correlation. That was the big, simple breakthrough. The fear is not coming from your past. The fear is not coming from what people think of you. The fear is not coming from the outside world. A majority of that unsafety that we feel is coming from little acts of non-care that accumulate over time to break trust and you feel unsafe from within yourself. That is what's creating the fear. Little acts from you to you, about 10 to 30 a day, that have been accumulating over time. That's why you feel unsafe. Now, the bad news is almost nobody understands this. We know we treat ourselves poorly and we know we're afraid, but nobody saw the link that these little acts of non-care were accumulating to create the fear. That's what we saw. Now, the bad news is nobody sees this. So guess what? 10 to 30 times a day, you're being unkind and unloving to yourself every day, which makes you feel unsafe and fearful within yourself. So if every day you're still doing the acts that make you feel fearful, then can you see your symptoms of fear are never going to go away because you're reinforcing the fear every day?
Yeah, because it's feeding the mechanism, the wiring is the word I use. Like, it's feeding the wiring and just affirming that habit over and over again, and burying, even becoming heavier and heavier. So that's why the consistency, a lot of the times in my practice, that's a lot of what we do, is just pausing as soon as that comes up, pausing as soon as that comes up, pausing. Like, self-judgment takes effort and a desire. It takes a desire. It
does.
It doesn't have to be a heavy lift, but it takes a desire to want to shift that.
It does. And because what we're talking about resonates with what you share with the world and your audience resonates with what you teach, everything you're teaching, and I want to honor you for this, is good, solid fundamentals. You're in the right place. You're in the body. You understand the principle of kindness. So you're doing all the right things, and I appreciate you for that. What are the innovation of the system is how fast the results that you get. Because it's not just awareness where we figured out in 6 weeks, if you work the steps, you get the results. And the result is a feeling which I feel every day. And it's the feeling that I believe we all want to feel, but almost nobody feels it because every day we're treating ourselves poorly. And the feeling that our clients get that allows them the freedom is they wake up every morning feeling safe. Like, really think about that. Forget, oh, I want to be less anxious. Oh, I wish I didn't procrastinate. Those are just the symptoms. The way we address that is in 6 weeks, your nervous system is healed and you feel safe. How would your life be better if you woke up every morning and your default was to feel safe from the inside out? How would that affect your life?
We're going to have to make that rhetorical because that is how I wake up. So, but I want this for everybody. So that's why I wanted to have you come on, because I know that the majority of the population don't. And to have a system that somebody already figured out, and you have feedback, like you have a client base. This isn't something you came up with last Tuesday. So I got to be vetted.
Well, I want to appreciate for you to speak from that place. I can only imagine the intention, the consistency, and the courage, because you had to heal. You can't fake what you just said. So I honor you for that. You are a warrior, gold stars. You go, girl. You own it.
You go, boyfriend.
But to be here means that before you woke up safe, you lived a life of unsafety, which created enough pain.
Yeah.
So you can at least speak how much better life is when you feel safe. Can you at least speak to that?
Yes, because it is what I marvel at every day. Like, I don't wake up and be like, I don't live in my past, but I also feel appreciative of the work and the consistency. And I can still feel the difference. And of course, I work with people every day who are in that fear space, right? So the difference of being fully embodied and, like you said, a quiet head. Like, people always presume because I'm so intuitive that my head's loud. I'm like, crickets. Like, nope, it's very quiet in there. And that's, but that, and that goes out exponentially, right? So absolutely the twisted, tormented, I could blame it on my past. I had a pretty rough childhood. I don't need to. So this is why I wanted to have you on too, because I want this for everyone. And I want, however we get there, however someone gets there, just brilliant with me. So,
Well, again, I want to appreciate you again that you can say your mind is quiet too. When I tell people my mind is just dead quiet, they do not believe me. So we are a rare breed that actually can say it's not only it's completely possible and it's incredible. So it's nice to meet another fellow quiet mindy. It's so rare, I don't even have a word for it, but nice to meet you because we're a rare breed. But for you to get here to this point, it took incredible courage and tenacity and consistency, but I guarantee you didn't get it in 6 weeks.
No, I was just going to say to you, it took decades.
Right.
It took decades
So
of slogging.
That word, the slogging, the grinding. I was on a podcast 2 weeks ago. Guy had panic attacks, anxiety, PTSD, and now it's virtually gone. Now it's not completely gone. I showed him our technique and he's like, wow, that would help. That last 10%, that would help me get that last 10%. But for the most part, his anxiety, panic attacks, and PTSD, gone. So it is possible. But I said, how long did that take? He said, 13 years. I said, how much money? He said, deep 6 figures. I said, how many people did you have to go to? He's like, I don't know, a couple hundred. I said, did you have the instructions? He's like, no, I slogged. I grunt, and credit to you and him, they got there. So it is completely possible, but an engineer, we love efficiency. So we got that down to 6 weeks. And when I did it, when we were developing the program before it was by the way, nice to talk to you. I'm having a great conversation with you, Vicki. This is great. We had to optimize the system. It took a while. When things start out, they're clunky. No matter what, the first car, the first anything is kind of clunky. It took me 3 years to get here. So it works, but I was like, people don't have 3 years. We need to make this faster. So we optimized, tested, tweaked, and tooled down to 6 weeks. So Vicki is telling you that it's possible to wake up every morning feeling safe. She's telling you life is way better. You can definitely live from your intuition when you're not afraid, and that your mind goes quiet. She is telling you, and I'm just telling you, we can get it in 6 weeks. And when you feel safe, it unlocks a version of you that you didn't know existed. Most people are managing their symptoms. So they have the fear, the unsafety, and they found some workarounds or they avoid some things, and great, they're better. But if you feel unsafe, mechanically, your heart is more closed, you are more guarded, you have doubt, you're more afraid. It's going to slow you down. You cannot be the most authentic, open-hearted version of yourself if you feel unsafe, because you'll have to protect. So I worked with a client a year ago, and he had this fear of public speaking. So he went to coaches that helped give him workarounds. He's like, I memorize my script, I do visualization mindset, I have all these tricks so that I'm not terrified on stage. And I said, that's great. I'm really proud of you. But the fear is still there, right? He's like, oh yeah, it's still there. I said, I'm going to help. So the fear is gone. He's like, you don't. And I said, no risk to try. He's like, all right, I'll try it. So he goes through a program. He comes out 6 weeks later. His nervous system is healed. He feels safe. Not only did his procrastination go away, perfectionism went away, but he was a much more loving, open-hearted partner. But also I said, what's it like giving a talk now? He said, it's night and day. Mm-hmm. He said, before I was managing the fear. Now I get on stage. I'm fully me. I'm fully present. I'm spontaneous. People can feel me and I'm free and I'm enjoying it. And I can tell I'm making much better sales and communicating at a much higher level. So when you have all these tips and tools and tricks to manage things, definitely better than nothing. I'm proud of you guys. Chef's kiss. That's what's available. You got to go for it. But man, think of your relationships, your jobs, being a parent. If you didn't have the fear and you felt safe, you are free. Now, a lot of people don't even know what this is like. They're like, I like the sound of it, Daniel, but what's that even like? Again, I wish I could just transfer my soul into you. This energy, this passion, this is not cocaine. This is like authentic, healthy nervous system, open-hearted passion and purpose. However, there are 2 groups that I know of that have a healthy nervous system.
Look, celebration.
There's two groups that know what it's like to not have a lot of fear. There's our clients and another little group, which I call children.
Yeah.
Before it goes all wonky pants, children don't have a lot of fear. They still feel safe. So I want you to imagine that version of yourself that was 3, 4, and 5, before things went sideways and the fear kicked in. Think about that version of yourself. You were probably confident, open-hearted, free, spontaneous. There aren't very many 4-year-old procrastinators. I have never heard a 5-year-old say, I'm thinking of fingerprinting today, but I really want it to be perfect. And if it's not perfect, I'm not going to do it. You will never see a 5-year-old saying, I think I'm going to the park, but I have a lot of self-doubt about my skills in tag. No. Yes, kid, what do you want to be for your grow up? I want to be a unicorn pilot, astronaut, president, camel rider. They're so full of hope. So that version of you is still in there. It's just covered up by the unsafety of an unhealthy nervous system. So we bring your nervous system back to health. You feel safe. The fear goes away. And that open-hearted, spontaneous, confident, loving version of you comes out of nowhere. And it's not temporary. It's permanent. That's the best part. It's just who you are.
And have you seen the advocating for the ones that are thinking about this? Have you seen the consistency of that? I know you're an example of it, but have you seen that consistency to the word? Because the word permanent is a big promise, because we haven't croaked yet. So permanent isn't proved yet, unless there's an engineer thing that I don't know. Which, by the way, I actually love that you guys weren't credentialed, because that's a lot of the times where the brilliance comes from, is from being outside and asking, well, why is it like this? Or I don't get it. How are we still doing this? Is because you're not in the, if you want to call it indoctrination, but you're not in that space. So I think coming from outside is brilliant. So are you seeing, when you, like, the consistency of it, people who are a couple years out?
So it's an excellent question, and we're all about results. And so when you say the word permanent, that's big talk. So you're asking, okay, 6 weeks is great, but what about 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? Yes, I have it, but I'm not your typical test case. So in full transparency, we don't track all our clients years out.
Okay.
We track most of them about 1 year out. What is permanent is two things. The results that you get in the 6 weeks, you keep. And the reason we know it's permanent is because the approach. Again, it would be like walking up to a doctor and saying, you claim to solve broken bones. How do you know it's permanent? Well, because you kind of know the mechanics that once the bone heals, it's healed. You may re-break it, but it's basically healed. Our approach is mechanical. And so once you bring it back to health, it stays in health. And as you go through the program, you're building a simple daily habit to maintain the results.
Perfect.
So that's the permanent part. You get results and you keep the results. Now, when you feel safer, it doesn't mean that you don't feel things. You will still feel challenged in life. You can still feel some fear or some stress, but you feel it around 2 out of 10 or 3 out of 10 because you're solid. You still have a nervous system. You still have needs, and you can still be hurt. So you feel things, and life will challenge you. But two things. One is your baseline is so much lower. Secondly, when the pattern pops up at all, for the procrastinators, they move through it, and I'm not making this up, in about 30 seconds versus 30 days.
Yeah, I can.
So is it 100% gone and never comes back? No. But is it gone enough that you have your life back and that you're free from it and that lasts permanently? Absolutely.
I was hoping that was your answer, because there's, in energy talk, at least in my energy talk, fear and excitement have the same frequency, right? It's just, where have we been taught or conditioned? So sometimes previously you might have seen as stress or, oh my goodness, fear, could actually be excitement about this new endeavor. It could be something that resonates with you as an old frequency of fear. But when you check in with that 30 seconds of self, because you have a new base, it ends up being like, oh no, this is excitement. And then, helping your system to understand, okay, we don't have to run. This is good. Tell the brain to cut its crap. We're good to go here. So that's what I was looking for, is that there's a baseline essentially, and then you're still going to build on it. If you're still practicing this, like, you're still going to strengthen your body's communication, your neural pathways, everything that's going on, that then you can trust yourself. Like, you can rely on your own system to back you up. So even if those things happen, like to your point, it's a 2. It's not a, 10.
It's a 2, and you said something very important. Most people are disconnected from their feelings. So when they feel the fear, not only is it not just a 2 out of 10, it's a 6, a 7, or an 8 out of 10. But when we feel the fear, it's, oh my God, I'm not good enough. I'm broken. I'm in danger. I'm going to be abandoned. And humans don't want to feel, so they bolt into their mind and get trapped there, and all these problems happen. And so through the program that's very gentle but incredibly potent, you begin to be able to connect to those feelings and just go, oh, okay, I'm just feeling some excitement, or oh, there's a little bit of doubt there. Okay, all right. But it's the secondary. It's the freak out of, I'm broken. There's something wrong with me. Get out of here. Oh my God, that's what gets us into the trouble. I'm not a robot. I feel stuff, but when I feel it, to use my new favorite word, I am equanimous, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
And what we all want to do is feel without freaking out. I should put that on a bumper sticker. So the beauty, when you don't have a healthy nervous system, you feel unsafe. When you feel unsafe, you shut down. You have to. You're protecting yourself, and you disconnect from your feelings because it's painful and scary, and we think we're broken in there. But of course, we want to feel. We want to feel joy and fulfillment, but we're disconnected from the feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So in this program, and what I experienced was, now that I feel safe, my heart just opens up like a child. And I can feel everything: joy, sadness, fulfillment, empathy, caring. It makes me such a more alive, nuanced, sensitive human being. So for you out there that wonder, oh, why am I unfulfilled? Why am I sometimes flat? Why is this relationship not exciting anymore? A lot of it is because we're disconnected from our feelings, because we're kind of scared to go in there.
Yeah.
And we're disconnected. But over 6 weeks, if you could be reconnected with your intuition, with your soul, with your spirit, and you can just sit in there and your heart opens up. Oh my God. Life, as you can testify, Vicki, it's what we all want. So people come to us for one of the funky 5.
Mm-hmm.
Procrastination, people pleasing, low self-esteem, procrastinating, and anxiety, because those are popular pain points. However, if I'm being honest, we're not in the funky 5 business. We are in the safety, freedom, unlock your potential to experience life the way it was truly designed business.
That is a brilliant way to complete this invigorating conversation, because that's what our soul comes in to help our human self. That's what I believe. Our soul comes in to help our human self learn how to live at exactly that level, pure joy, with undulation of life. But you can still have joy in those moments. Like, there's a gift and opportunity. There's joy in all moments, even the most difficult, tragic, seemingly tragic ones. And with a strong system, like, just quickly, when my late husband was passing, the doctors were like, we can't tell if you are this well adjusted or delusional. And I'm like, I'm not delusional. And I just left it at that. I'm like, I want him to have a beautiful experience. And I see this as a beautiful experience. Does it suck? Yeah, it sucks. But we're still going to do it. And they're like, huh?
I love that. And it is because most people don't live from this place of safety and then connection to this. When I tell people what it's like to live like this, they kind of don't believe me, and they don't have a frame of reference because everyone's walking around with a messed up nervous system, feeling unsafe. And every now and then, even I remember a month ago, my biggest fear of all was to walk up to a woman that I didn't know and chat her up and ask her out on a date. It was just terrifying. So a month ago, I'm walking down the street. I see a woman that just catches my fancy. And I just cross the street. No negative self-talk, no fear, no, well, Daniel, just not, I used to just walk up. I start talking to her. Well, guess what? Because I have no fear, guess who's Dr. Charming? Because I'm being my natural, authentic self. Then I ask for her number. She says yes. I get her phone number and I walk away. I don't even care about the phone number. I care about the fact that there was no fear, no doubt. This was from a guy who thought I was unlovably ugly. And when I would try to talk to a girl, turn into Forrest Gump and be like, my name is Daniel, you smell like vanilla. And there I am. But it was weird. I was like, where's the fear? Where is it? It was just gone. And I called my friend and I said, am I a sociopath? Why was I not afraid? He's like, Daniel, this is what you teach. I was like, right. So I just wish everybody knew what this was like. But again, every day I see the data. This guy, Dylan, who went through our program, hadn't had a date in 2 years. Too afraid to walk up to a woman, too afraid to ask, just fear. And I said, dude, I have been there. Trust me. Just trust me. And I read his entry. Check this out. He walks up. He sees a woman. He walks up to her without basically any fear. Maybe a little bit, walks up, asks her out. He says yes. So already he's got his first date in 2 years. He said the whole time he wasn't trying to be someone else. He was his true self. He said, even I was like, I would date me. I'm incredible. Then it's full moon and he starts to swing dance with her under a full moon and then plants the kiss, all with no fear. And he said, Daniel, it's not about the kiss. It's that I was my true, magnificent self and got to experience every moment of it without doubt or fear. And that was in 5 weeks. 5 weeks. So we all know there's a better, happier version of ourselves. We've all read the books and the videos. Your audience has the what. They know what the problem is, what they want better, and they know what's true. What they don't have is the how. That is what we've got, is the how to get this quickly. So if you already know, if you have anxiety and you've been working on it and it's better, but you want to be free of it so you can wake up every morning calm, looking forward to the day, we help people get that every day. We can help you with that. If you're a procrastinator and it's better and you're working on it, but you would like it gone so you can wake up every morning and spend hours doing what you love and bringing value to the world, which fills you with joy and fulfillment, we do it every day. We can get you. If you're a recovering people pleaser and you'd like to go cold turkey and truly just create stuff just because you want to make stuff and you don't care what people think of you, we do that every day. We can get free of it. And if you have low self-confidence and you want to be that true, authentic version of yourself, and sometimes you are and sometimes you're not, but you want to be that way all the time from a place of safety and you're just fully you, not because you read a book, because you're like a kid again. We do that every day. And again, I know this is big talk. I know you like what I'm saying, but you're skeptical. Fine. Be skeptical. I get it. Nothing else has gotten you this, let alone in 6 weeks. So all that you need to remember, you only pay at the end when you get results. That's the most important. Everything else is just theory, but that is real. We only pay. There's 1 million coaches and therapists on the planet. As far as we know, not a single one lets you pay at the end when they get results. Why? You got to talk to them. We are literally 1 in a million. We're the only ones that track data consistently and back up our results, which means we're getting results. That's the thing you need. If I were you, I would pay attention to. So I know your audience is listening to this, and probably some of you are like, oh, what a cool, interesting perspective. It's not in the mind. It's in the body. Ooh, I'd like to feel safe. That's just theory. Great. What we have developed is truly innovative, and it's what you want, which is freedom. So please, if you've heard this podcast, I hope years from now, what we do is just the way things are done. But right now, nobody knows what we're doing. So if you heard that, it's because somebody upstairs is looking out for you and wanted you to hear this. So please don't just listen to this podcast and go, oh, that was really interesting. That's useless. You have enough information. What you need is a solution. So please, some of you are just going to be like, oh, that was interesting. Yes, Daniel is charming and has incredible sexual magnetism. Sure, can't argue that, but you're not going to take action on it. But for you out there that want to feel safe and be free of what's holding you back, to be that full version of yourself, for that small group, please don't just listen to this podcast and get some new information. Please take action. Go to my website. I like things simple. My name's Daniel Packard. You go to danielpackard.com, and there's two options, both of which you can have a free quick call with me. One is called a next steps call, where it's free, it's quick. You tell me what you're struggling with and what you'd like more of, and I will give you some tips and insights to put you in the direction of less fear and getting more of what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want to find out more about the program, how it's structured, how much it costs, and you're interested, book a free quick call with me. I'll make sure it's a good fit. You make sure it's a good fit. And if you want to do it within 3 days from now, you could already start to be on your path to freedom. No more Band-Aids, just full life upgrades. So if you want a free quick call with me, either for the next steps call or to see if the program is a good fit, go to danielpackard.com.
All right. And we'll put the links in the show notes, or Enrique will, because he's awesome. And thank you so much for being here. This has been so delightful. I feel like I have a bunch of energy. I'm just going to go run around now and do a bunch of stuff. But I appreciate it. And I, too, really, I'll say it again, appreciate like meeting someone who can be quiet in mind and so vivaciously alive. Because they're often taught separately, right? Like you can't have, if you have a quiet mind, we must be walking around and oming. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I got so much to say because it's quiet up there. And then it allows the space for brilliance to flow through and streams of consciousness and stuff. So
that's a really good point. You're right. Because things are quiet in me, my body is calm, my mind is calm. And a lot of times people think I'm just like either shy or an introvert. And then all of a sudden I'll start talking about the work that we do or something. And all of a sudden I'm like an Avenger. And they're like, what are you, a schizophrenic? Like, who's in there? I'm like, no, both can exist. Both can exist. I can be both very quiet and calm and by myself. But because I feel so safe, my heart is like wide open and energy is flowing through my system. But also, we're all here to serve. And the more we can serve, the more excited we get. That's why you do this podcast. It's why you help people, to help. And when you help, you get excited. So this excitement comes from the amount that we help people and the confidence that we do it at. We all want to make the world a better place. And I will just own my greatness. We are experts at that. And we want this to spread. If you're not interested in this, there's somebody out there that needs to hear this, that's struggling and doesn't have a way out. So if this isn't for you, please, what we're doing is innovatively effective. And so if you know someone that might want to hear this, please also pass this on, because we're not just healing nervous systems, we're healing people and we're healing the planet.
That's that ripple effect. Universally.
If I was more egoic, I would end it there because that was the ending. But fortunately, my self-esteem is also healed, so it doesn't need to be perfect. See, look, if I was going for perfection, I would have ended it right there. That was the moment, but I don't need it to be perfect. Yeah, this is my heart just going like, ah. And also I'm tapped into your big, super open heart, Vicky. So I'm like mainlining, we're like two wizards, like connected to life source. It's great. This is like free, healthy cocaine. This is awesome. I'm going to hang out with you more, Vicky. What we have, the power is not just the speed and effectiveness, it's the scalability. It's an online program, which means it can go into schools and universities. And what's limiting us is people's skepticism. So the one thing what would really benefit us is to have clinical trials. Somebody who does have letters at the end of their name. So if you have letters at the end of your name, or you know somebody, we want to prove the results that we're getting clinically through an institution in a journal. So if you know someone or you're that person, I'm sending out to the universe and asking for that support, because yes, I'm passionate and excited, but man, if we had clinical trials with real data from a university or institution, it would help with the skepticism and would help us help more people.
Brilliant, brilliant. So my absolutely expansive audience, which is one of the things I love so much about my audience. I have the best one. I know other podcasters think they do, but I really do.
No, totally. Your audience, no.
They are.
Be AE, best audience ever, for sure. That's science. Go ahead.
All right. So spread the word, peeps. Spread the words. Werps. It's not a werps, it's a word. So, well, thank you very much. I appreciate you bringing your effervescence and your intelligence and all your snazziness to our family here. And please keep us apprised of anything else that you're doing so we can spread the word and make sure, people like themselves and they feel good in their bodies. So, all right.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you for listening to this episode of Intuition, Your Success Compass. I appreciate you being here. If you would like more information about developing your intuitive skills, removing those blocks, and creating the life that feels the most successful to you, then head on over to vickibaird.com. That's VICKIBAIRD.com. And check out the courses, the groups, and the Spaces app that will allow you to be part of our community and know about upcoming events and specials. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.